Welcome back to Roni Adventures. We're doing a follow-up on the DIY sports card wall mount display. Got a couple questions after the initial video and want to go into a little bit more detail. So all you really need to do is go to Home Depot, and you can get these sections of J channel. They come in 10-foot sections. This is 10-foot half-inch vinyl J channel, and I actually just cut it in half for our wall display. So we have 5-foot sections. You're going to need a top and a bottom, so you can make it any size that you want. If you have a smaller space and want to cut it into 2-foot sections or whatever, but for simplicity we went with just cutting the 10-foot section in half and going with 5-foot rows. So you're going to need one for each row for the top and the bottom. And then in addition, you're going to need to get some flathead screws. So these I got the number 6 half-inch multi-purpose construction screws. You can see right there, I hope. But again, those are $2.30 at Home Depot. These J channels run about, I think it was $2.58 for this one that I just cut in half here at the store. So it'd fit in the truck better. But I would suggest bringing a box cutter or scissors and cutting them to the size that you want in the store, unless you have a vehicle that's large enough to haul around the 10-foot sections. So when you get home, all you really need to do is you start with the top section and you get a level to make sure that your rows are going to be straight. Once you have the top section, facing down, so the channel's facing down, and you have that level, it's pretty easy from that point forward to get the bottom section to the size you need. And you can do it for different cards. So you can do it if you have one touches like we did. You just use a case and you start it at the end and you have it in there firm, and then you secure the bottom section, and then you move that case all along the way, securing it with those screws. That way you get a uniform distance between the top and the bottom, so it'll fit the type of cards that you want. So they're a little bit different if you're doing say top loaders versus one touch versus graded cards. You're going to need a little bit more spacing, but whatever you're looking to display, you can do it by that method I'm talking about, by using one of the cards or one of the cases and using that as a sizer all the way down. And then you simply move on. You stack, a bottom section on top of that top section, and so on and so forth until you get the number of rows that you want. So we'll go and add this additional row to our display that we have at home, and then then we'll have our final row. But hopefully this answers a few of those questions that were outstanding for you guys that reached out. So hopefully this is helpful, and we'll be back with you shortly. All right, we're back from Home Depot. We're ready to put up our next row on the wall mount display. So we'll show you how to go about doing it. Again, we already have an established mount up. So we'll, when you're initially starting, you're going to need to start with that first top layer, like I mentioned before, with the level, and then work your way up and down from there. We're actually just going to be adding an additional layer to the bottom of our display, which you can see here will just be following right along this bottom here. Okay, so the materials that you're going to need to begin the installation, obviously you're going to need your J channel. Like I mentioned, it comes in 10-foot sections. It's called 10-foot half-inch J channel, and you can see why. It's a J. It's made of vinyl. Again, I cut the 10-foot section in half just because it was easy and it fit our wall display. But you can cut it into any size that you want. Just make sure that both the top and the bottom are equal length. Then you're going to need some flathead screws. I think the number 6 half-inch multi-purpose screws work really well. The biggest part is you want them to be that flat head so they don't stick out very far and scratch your cards as you put them in. Obviously, the box cutter to cut your J channel to the size you need, and tape measure to measure out the proper length. But then you're going to need one of your cards. We use the One Touches, and you're going to put it in like this so you can, and then move it down as you work your way and attach it so it maintains that uniform distance between the rows the entire way down. So it's a smooth slide in and out for when you put your cards in there. And then obviously you need your drill to attach everything. I have the tape here because for me, it's easy when you already have an existing row in place to just tape the next row to the bottom, and it allows you to be able to install it by yourself. So I'm gonna hand the video over to Carter so he can film while I attach this. But it's really simple. You just line up the top to the bottom of the last row that you had in place. And I just use a few pieces of tape, you know, one at the end, one in the middle, and then one down here towards the end. All right. And then you just grab your screws and start attaching them. You don't need very many because the cards aren't very heavy. So I usually put, you know, at 5 feet, obviously you want to put one here at the end, as close as you can to the end. And I try to get it up in there slowly, and then I just drill it in because it's going right into drywall, so you don't have to put it in too far. But again, I probably put in, I'd say one at each end, and then, oops, one or two here towards the middle, but always making sure that it's flush with the row above it. But again, these J channels, they work really well. They're flexible, so you can actually pull them out as you need when you put the card in. But making sure that these screws are self-tapping screws, so they should go in fairly easy. But if you just apply a little bit of pressure there, and you can get the screw to stay on your driver head, that would even be better. But I try to tuck them up underneath that channel just a little bit. Okay, and then again, all right, one last one, and that should be all we'll need for the top one. Okay, so that's the last of the top. Now this is where it's a little bit more tricky. So the bottom row, again, a little harder to do when it's just one person. But I stack the card in there. And again, that bottom section, you're gonna wanna hold it there as tight as you can, and then try to work your way. Okay, got the first one. And then I slide it, keeping it tight in there until I get to about where I have the other screw. And then that should keep that space uniform all the way through there. Okay. Moving down, keeping the card in there nice and tight. And we'll get to the next one. All right. And then we have one last one here to finish it up. And again, I tight all the way, and then I put one right here towards the end. And there you go. That's how you add an additional piece to the wall. And as you can see, we have quite a few of them up here, but it's a great way to display all your cards, get them out of those drawers, out where you can see them. And when the sun hits it just right, those prisms and everything else, they just light up and pop. But anyways, thanks for watching. Roni Adventures.
Signing off.
Making
Peace. Adventure a great one.
You're right. Thanks.